Welcome to Lunch with the Lord. I'm Pastor Mark, and we are in 1 Timothy, and we're going to be starting chapter 3 this lesson. But before we begin, Jeremiah 15:16, Thy words were found, and I did eat them, and thy word was unto me the joy and the rejoicing of my heart. Now, we begin chapter 3 this lesson, but we have to go back and remember that 1 Timothy chapter 2, chapters 2 and chapter 3, Paul is instructing Timothy concerning church order. So chapters 2 and 3 is Paul instructing Timothy on church order in the churches in Ephesus. Now, verses 1 through 7 here of chapter 3 deal with the qualifications of bishops. And that's what we'll be dealing with here first, is the qualifications of bishops in verses 1 through 7. So, as we begin, verse 1 says, This is a true saying, if a man desire the office of a bishop, he desires a good work. Now, it says here, this is a true saying, and this is the second time that Paul uses this phrase. He also used it in chapter 1, verse 15, and in chapter 4, and in verse 9. And what it actually means is that what Paul is about to say is that it is worthy of all of our trust and all of our faith. We can put our full trust and our full faith in what Paul is about to say. So, he says here, this is a faithful saying, if a man, now this Greek word for if is a first-class condition clause, all right? It's present tense, middle voice, indicative mood, and it means if and it's true. Remember, first-class condition is if and it's true. Second-class condition is if and it isn't true. Third-class condition is if and it may be true. Fourth-class condition is if and it may be true, but more than likely it isn't. All right? Now, this is a first-class condition, and he's saying here, if and it's true. So, therefore, it is assumed that there were men at that time, at the time that Timothy was reading this letter, it's assumed that there were men who desired to be bishops. All right? Now, he said here, if a man desire, and this Greek word for desire is orego, and it means to stretch out, to reach out, to touch, or to grasp something. So you're reaching out, you're extending, you're desiring, you're reaching for something. So it also means to seek something. And this word, this orego, carries with it the idea of reaching for something and doing something with desire. It means you really want this thing. For example, a person in high school, they're in their 11th or 12th grade, they're getting ready to graduate, and you ask them, what would you like to be? And they say to you, I really want to be a doctor. And they say it with authority, and they say it with conviction. And they say, I really want to be a doctor, right? And it means that this student will do everything possible that it takes to become that doctor. They're going to reach for it. They see it. They see themselves 10 years from now, long past college and their degrees and everything. They see themselves being a doctor. And they're reaching. They have a desire to reach to that goal. And they're going to do everything possible to become that doctor. All right? So, orego, if a man has that yearning and that strong desire to reach out and to become a bishop. All right? Now, bishop here, the Greek word is episkopos. And epi, the prefix, means over. And it also has skopeo. And it means to look or to watch. So it means one who oversees. You look over something. It's an overseer or a superintendent. So in the church, as a bishop, you would be an overseer of the church, a superintendent of the church. And the bishop oversees the direction of the church and the spiritual life of the church. Now, that does not mean that the office of the bishop oversees every single detail of the church. That's not. We're going to get into that when we deal with deacons in verse 8, starting in verse 8. Deacons, their duty is to deal with the little details of the church. But the office of the bishop, the overseer, the episkopos, he deals with the overseeing of the spiritual activity and the direction of the church. For example, what missionaries the church wants to support and outreach activities and different things. And it's the spiritual temperature of the church. So he says, if a man desire the office of a bishop, all right? Now, this next word, desire, it says here, if he desire the office of a bishop, he desires a good thing. Now, the second word for desire is epithumeo. Remember, the first word that we had for desire was orego. Now, this second word, desire, in this verse, the Greek word is epithumeo. And it means to eagerly or to passionately desire something. It means that the emotions are involved. So again, it's like that person wanting to be a doctor. They're foaming at the mouth, right? They want this thing. Or a person in sports, they want that Olympic gold medal. And for 4 years, they train and train and train, right? They have it in every single day. They're training and they're perfecting their sport and doing whatever they can to reach that, to have that gold medal put around their neck. And so here, this is how the bishop is. The person who desires to be a bishop, they have a desire. It involves the emotions. They feel it. It's so deep that their emotions are affected by this desire. All right? Now, before we go any farther in this lesson, I want to deal with the difference between a bishop and an elder. Bishop and an elder. Now, the Greek word for bishop, as we saw, is episkopos, means an overseer. And an elder, the Greek word for elder, is presbyteros. And according to 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 2 through 7, which we're going to see here in the next few lessons, and also in Titus chapter 1, verses 6 through 9, the qualifications for both bishop and elder are generally the same. And it seems that during Paul's time, that both of these offices were one and the same. So, why are there two different Greek words used for seemingly the same office? There's two views as to why there are two different Greek words. Now, the first view is this, that elder, presbyteros, describes the kind of person they were. They were older. Elder here means that they were an older person, not a young person. So elder describes the kind of person they were, that they were older, well-respected men. And bishop, episkopos, described their function in the church. So elder described the person, and episkopos described the function. It was an older person. Basically, they were to oversee the spiritual life and the work of the church. So it was basically an older person overseeing the spiritual life and function of the church. So that's one way that commentators and different people have chosen to describe the differences between elder and bishop, because basically the qualifications that are in these letters in the New Testament, the qualifications for elder and bishop are basically the same. So why are there two different Greek words? Now the second view is this, that if elder and bishop were generally the same, then how did the bishop become a bishop? And one of the reasons that was given, that I will give here, is that because of the growing amount of elders in a church, there would need to be there would be the need to appoint one of the elders from among them to oversee all the elders. And it seems like that is possible, that it happened that way during that time, is that in a church there may have been 3 or 4 elders in a church body, all right? And because of that, there would become the need to have one of them be appointed as the overseer of all the elders. Now, regardless of what you believe to be the difference between these, there may be another reason why you think that there's a difference between elders and bishops. But regardless of what you believe to be the difference between elder and bishop and their function, we must all agree that it is unwise to have too many chefs in the kitchen. And without one chef having the final decision among all the chefs, there eventually will be confusion, power struggles, anger, manipulation, taking sides, and also many other sins. Right? Well, I didn't want that. Bishop so-and-so wanted green carpet in the church. I didn't want green carpet. I want brown carpet. Right? And it's like, and you want to start this, get people on your side, start this conspiracy to get brown carpet and not have the green carpet, right? So, no. There needs to be an authority in the church, and in order to alleviate and do away with the temptation of confusion and bitterness and anger and strife among having too many chefs in the kitchen, there needed to be one that would be appointed as the head chef, the head bishop over all, and that's why he was called the bishop, okay? So, in verse 1 it says, "This is a true saying, if a man desire the office of a bishop, he desires a good work." All right, and there are people out there in churches, and they do desire to become pastors and missionaries and leaders in the church, and it's good, and God is working and God is moving, and there needs to be a leading in that area, because there's always a need for leaders, right? For churches to be planted, and for elders to be appointed, and deacons to be appointed, and people, and for people to be saved, people to become saved. All right? Until next lesson, walk with the Lord. I know he walks with you.